I'm here to warn people. You keep telling me to shut up. This isn't a game.
From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones. Let's go to Phil in Florida. Phil. Hello, Phil in Florida. Are you there? Okay, sorry. Yeah, that was Phil. Let's go to Bob in Texas. Bob?
Hey, David. How are you this evening?
Doing good. What's on your mind?
Well, I had a couple of comments. One was on the false flag of the sniper shooting out in California. Well, they may not have a patsy yet. I'm still waiting to see. You know, they can always come up with some details on an investigation. The NSA may be looking through data and phone records as we speak, and they come up with a patsy. So let's not count out a patsy at that point yet. And if it is, it very well could be Tea Party radicals.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, the thing that it points out is just how vulnerable and how fragile our infrastructure is.
This is an emergency transmission from FEMA Region 6 in occupied North America.
There is a war. It's happening now. It will decide the fate of humanity. The time to choose sides has come. We are the resistance. We are the info war.
And as we saw just today, we see the new mayor of Boston, who has just joined that group, holding a buyback because a 9-year-old was tragically shot by his 14-year-old brother. So now everybody needs to not only turn in their guns, but he says, we want to know who these people are. We want to know who has these guns so we can do something about it. Going to confiscate it. They're going to register it. They're going to have informants tell them about it so that they can confiscate it. Now, out of North Carolina, this is off the subject of guns, but this is still interesting. The NAACP requires marchers who are protesting North Carolina's voter ID law to show photo ID. Yes, that's right. The very thing that they're protesting, that you would have to show photo ID in order to legally vote somewhere, because our election system, let's admit it, is fundamentally broken. It's very, very easy to game this either with illegal voters or with rigged voting machines. It is a broken system. We need to do everything we can to reform this. One of those things is to make sure that the people who are voting are legitimate voters and they only vote once. And one of the ways that you do that is with voter ID. I used to live in North Carolina. And in North Carolina, all you had to do was go up and give them a name and an address, and they'd let you vote. And I've had friends tell me that they went there and were told that they had already voted and that deceased relatives at their house had already voted. These are the same laws that are in existence in many states in the Union, but Eric Holder and the Justice Department want to single out states in the South and claim that it's racism if you ask somebody for proper identification at the voting booth. This is something that people do all the time when you're cashing a check, when you're doing just about anything. People are constantly, in America anymore, they're constantly asking you for ID. Why should voting be the only place where you don't have to show ID? And of course, the irony of it is that they're protesting the law that requires people to have a photo ID when they vote, and the organization that's protesting it, the NAACP, is requiring exactly the same form of identification in order to show up at the protest. Absolutely amazing. Well, they don't understand the meaning of irony, I guess. Let's go to one of the callers here. John in Michigan. John?
Hey, David. How's it going?
Doing fine. How are you doing?
Doing good. I want to talk about just everything. I think it's all really connected to the Dutch-British takeover, infiltration of our political system. It may have started back when Roosevelt was taken out, but I just think all of it, like gun confiscation, importation of drugs, everything, it all relates back to the British royalties' whole, world extermination plan. They want to create this volatile atmosphere internationally. Even I've even heard something recently that the current administration is behind this whole Ukraine uprising. They're keeping it.
Oh yeah.
they're creating this volatile environment where we could be on the brink of a thermonuclear war and not even really realize it.
Well, it's known that George Soros is giving the leaders of the Ukraine money, and we had this embarrassing admission from a phone conversation of an American official this last week, essentially admitting the same thing. And it's very sad because the people of the Ukraine have a real legitimate gripe with Stalinist Russia. They want their independence very badly, and I think that the common people there want something very different than the leadership there. I think the leadership is being manipulated by America and by people like George Soros and other bankers to play this geopolitical game at the higher level. At the lower level, the people simply want independence, and so they need to go for independence. But I think that they realize that they're not strong enough on their own to do it, so they're kind of using the EU as a foil. It might be interesting if they did get into the EU, because these are people like Manuel Martinez, who just spoke at the Oregon meetings about gun control, talked to people about what he had experienced under communism. These people could really wake people up in Europe about the real threat. They've experienced it all. They've experienced the war of withdrawing food that Stalin used against them. He starved them out. He had 4 different prongs. He cut off the leadership. He co-opted the churches. He brought in massive amounts of Russian immigrants so that he could divide and conquer the people. And then he cut off their food. Does that sound very familiar to you?
Yeah.
Sounds like what we're doing here right now, doesn't it?
Exactly, yeah. And I was thinking, Alex, I think you've had Lyndon LaRouche on before, but he might be someone interesting to get on as of recently. He's had some really strong opinions and really good viewpoints on this whole organization of the Dutch-British takeover of our education system, everything,
Yeah.
It just teaches us more to be like animals, and we're not taught to be humans almost.
Oh, absolutely. It's interesting. My wife got a master's degree in education. When she was taking classes, she had to read B.F. Skinner's book, Beyond Freedom and Dignity. B.F. Skinner hated the idea of freedom and dignity. He was adamantly opposed to that. He thought that we were simply animals that could be controlled by behavioral modification. And he talked about things like, negative conditioning and positive operant conditioning. What you experience when you go to the airport and you submit yourself to being fondled and handled illegally by the TSA, you're then immediately rewarded by allowing you to get on the plane. You can now go fly. That's exactly what they do to train dogs, and they do that to train dolphins. I've said before, we need to tell them, thanks for all the fish, but so long. I'm not going to be your dolphin anymore. It is conditioning. They're conditioning people in the schools deliberately. It's planned. That's what they teach the teachers, how to condition the kids. And that's what they're doing to people, even though they don't realize it, when they're going through these security theater things at the TSA. And it is simply theater. They've admitted, as of 2011, they had internal documents that were leaked as part of the disclosure of John Corbett's lawsuit against them. The government mistakenly posted these documents on pacer.gov showing that they knew in 2011 that there was no threat at either airports or airplanes, and yet at the very same time, they were threatening to turn Texas into a no-fly zone because we had state legislatures who were trying to put up a bill that would stop the illegal use of hands, if you want to put it in football terms, of the TSA, a violation of our Fourth Amendment, a violation of probable cause, something that should affront the freedom and dignity of everybody, but they want to remove those things from us so they can treat us like animals and condition us along those lines. Well, thank you, John. Let's talk to CC from Oklahoma before we run out of time. CC.
I just wanted to invite everybody in FEMA Zone 6 to join us at the Oklahoma State Capitol in Oklahoma City for a legalization of marijuana day. There's already 1,400 attending on the Facebook event, and I've shared it on the PrisonPayment.tv Facebook and as well as the InfoWars Social Networking Coalition on Facebook. And
well, that's good.
Here at the Oklahoma Capitol, we've got a big crowd of several legislators that are going to be speaking on the stance.
That's good. The war on drugs is something that the government is doing. As we mentioned in that report that Alex had before, our government is the biggest, is in control of Afghanistan, and the supply of heroin went from 7% of the world's supply of heroin to 90% once we established control there. We have seen over and over again how the CIA is involved in the illegal trade of drugs, and yet they have used this for decades to take away our civil liberties and to start the militarization of the police. Now they really don't need that. Now they're starting to pull back. They're starting to allow various states to legalize marijuana because they've got something that's even bigger and even better, and that's their war of terror that they are enacting against us. And they're militarizing and the police here in this country and getting ready for martial law in every way possible. What we have seen from the Obama administration is laying down an infrastructure for tyranny, a legal justification for it that they're trying to put out there, as well as equipping people, as well as building their attitude. They're training the police that we are civilians, that they're acting like they're military. They're talking about putting boots on the ground. They're using every bit of training that they have been using abroad. It's almost as if we took a pit bull and we trained it to be aggressive over and over and over again, and then we're surprised when that pit bull starts to aggressively attack people on the streets randomly. That's what is happening in this country now. That's what the militarization of the police is about. It's really not anymore a federal government, it's a feral government.
Now you can watch the InfoWars Nightly News streaming live as it happens for free.
Check it out at Infowars.com/show.
The facts are in. The studies are legion. Sodium fluoride and other members of the fluorine family that are added to Western water supplies are devastating the health and cognitive ability of the people that drink it. So the question is, why are the social engineers adding it to the water? Simple. Dumb down the host population that the parasitic technocracy is feeding on. We developed the Fluoride Shield to be the highest quality, highest standards, because I use it every day and my family uses it every single day. Let's take a closer look at the ingredients that make up this special proprietary formula. Tamarind has been celebrated for its ability to immobilize toxic fluoride residues, while zeolites have a long history of attracting and holding toxic compounds. Enter fulvic acid, an excellent cleansing agent. Then we added the highest quality shilajit, a rare compound that is collected from the high mountains of the Himalayas. We topped it all off with the powerhouse herb cilantro that is intended to mobilize fluoride and other dangerous compounds for removal from the body. And the final touch to energize this formula is our proprietary nascent iodine. And as always, consult your physician as well, because that is important. And finally, Fluoride Shield, Survival Shield, and all the products at InfoWarsLife.com grew out of my quest to try to find the very best compounds from God's cornucopia to protect myself and my family. And from our research, I believe we are bringing you the best, highest quality products. And you have that commitment from Alex Jones and the entire InfoWars crew.